You are watching the 6th Annual International Temple Mount Awareness Day broadcast from Jerusalem, Temple Institute. Rabbi Richman, have you got a question for me?
Yes. Philip asks as follows, Yitzchak.
Okay.
He says, I understand the rock outcrop was where Abraham offered up Yitzchak, and that this rock is recorded to have been contained within the Holy of Holies in the Second Temple. I wonder why the temple altar location should not be the same position as where Abraham sacrificed the ram. To move the temple altar east would theoretically mean that the altar would be elevated on a platform and not be connected to the ground directly. What do you have to say about that?
Actually, there's a misunderstanding here. We're talking about two separate locations. The rock outcropping, which is the foundation stone, is actually the location of the Holy of Holies, and the Ark of the Covenant rested upon the foundation stone. But directly east of that, and standing outside of the temple, was the place where Abraham bound Yitzchak, and that's where the altar, the stone altar, stood and will stand in that precise location. We've talked about this before, that the location of the stone altar has to be precisely in that spot. It was where Adam, the first man, built an altar. It was where Abraham bound Yitzchak in that altar, and that is the place. And it's the place from the dust of the earth there was the place where God created the first man. So actually, when we are mechaper on the altar, how do we say that? When we are atoning on the altar, we are, as the sons and daughters and representatives of Adam on earth, we are making atonement for mankind on that place of the altar.
Continuation of the legacy of Adam, the first man. So this is basic misunderstanding, because actually, and it's a rather common misconception, that the rock under the dome is the place of the altar, but it's not actually the case. That's the place of the foundation stone, whereas the place of the altar is east. Now, currently, on the Temple Mount, the place of the altar, approximately, is occupied by a smaller domed structure with a blue dome. We can show a picture of it here, hopefully. You'll be able to see this is the location of the altar. And underneath the golden dome, that is the location of the foundation stone. And indeed, there's actually an image that we can provide wherein we see that there are certain marks that are on the foundation stone under the golden dome that actually correspond to the measurements of the Ark of the Covenant that actually stood there. You can kind of see this photographic evidence of where the ark stood, as well as a kind of ledge on the western side of this stone, which is the exact dimension of the western wall of the sanctuary that would have sat along that stone as well.
And it was in that place that Jacob, lay down to rest, as we're told in the book of Genesis, when he was leaving Beersheba to travel to Haran, fleeing from his brother Esav, and we have the beautiful story of his encounter at Beit El overnight, and he lay down to rest under 12 stones under his head, as a pillow, as it were, and woke up and said, this is the place of God, and this is where the Holy Temple will be built. We have another question, Rabbi, concerning altar location, so to speak, and this question is from Amos, good friend of ours, Amos, and he asks, are the physical remains of the red heifer altar still visible today, or is just the location known being the Mount of Olives?
Actually, the question that Amos is asking is a very amazing question, because the place where the red heifer, we discussed the red heifer on another segment here on International Temple Mount Awareness Day, the place where the red heifer is, I won't say sacrificed or offered, because that's only a term that's used inside the Holy Temple on the altar, but the place where the red heifer is prepared is opposite the Holy Temple. And when it took place in the desert tabernacle, it was in the desert opposite the tabernacle, but in Jerusalem, it was on the Mount of Olives, opposite the eastern gate. But there's a very specific place on the Mount of Olives. It's referred to in Torah as the Mount of Anointment, which is where the preparation and the slaughtering, the burning of the red heifer took place. And actually, there is some research that we have been involved with, which is not been made public, that is based on scientific evidence, including satellite imagery and infrared technology that shows a very specific place on the Mount of Olives where subterraneously there are some structures buried that are the exact description of that which is mentioned in the chapter of the Mishnah that talks about this area and the place where the red heifer is prepared. There is a platform, there is a structure that seems to be the mikveh, where the Kohen that prepared the red heifer would have to immerse himself. And we're quite sure that we have actually located the exact place of the preparation of the red heifer as well. And this is a very, very important issue regarding the rebuilding of the temple, to be able to line that up exactly with the original Eastern Gate.
You are watching the 6th Annual International Temple Mount Awareness Day broadcast. Thank you for being with us. This program is dedicated to you, our followers and viewers and temple enthusiasts, because we're answering your questions. And if you want to keep up to date and informed about the issues happening today on the Temple Mount concerning the preparations for the Holy Temple, you can go to our website, templeinstitute.org, our Temple Institute Facebook page, our Temple Institute YouTube channel, and we even have a Temple Institute Twitter. Thanks for being with us, and we have so much more to answer.